All right, guys, so you've got Affinity Studio installed, right? Awesome. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the entire user interface, step by step. If you're brand new to Affinity, or maybe switching over from Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, don't worry, I'll explain everything in simple terms so you'll feel right at home by the end of this video. So once you open up Affinity Studio and create a new document, you'll land on what's called the workspace, basically your creative playground. Now, I know, at first glance, it might look kinda overwhelming, especially if this is your first time here. But trust me, once you understand the layout, it's super easy to use. If you've ever used Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop before, you're gonna notice a lot of familiar stuff like the tools and even some of the keyboard shortcuts. That makes switching over a whole lot smoother. But Affinity's got its own unique twist too. A few little quirks and features that make it different in a good way. All right, let's start with the toolbar, that long strip running down the left side of your screen. This is where all your tools live. Drawing tools, shape tools, selection tools, and more. Think of this as your toolbox for every creative move you make. Now, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that toolbar, you'll see three little dots. Click on that and boom, you can fully customize your toolbar. You can drag tools on or off depending on what you like to use most. So yeah, if there's something you don't need, ditch it. If there's something missing, add it back. You can make it totally your own. When you select any tool, like the pencil tool for example, you'll see instructions pop up along the bottom of your screen. That bar gives you helpful tips like keyboard shortcuts and what happens if you hold Shift, Alt, or Command while drawing. So don't ignore that. It's like your mini guide while working. Now let's talk about the top section. This is where Affinity Studio really sets itself apart. You'll see options like vector, pixel, and layout up there. These are basically your different studios. In Affinity Studio version 3, they've actually merged three separate programs, Designer, Photo, and Publisher, into one single app. Pretty cool, right? It means you can switch between vector editing, photo editing, and layout design without ever leaving the app. So if you're in Vector Studio, it's kind of like Adobe Illustrator, perfect for logos, icons, and anything clean and scalable. Switch to Pixel Studio, and it's like jumping into Photoshop, perfect for editing photos or adding texture. Then there's Layout Studio, which feels like Adobe InDesign, great for brochures, posters, and print layouts. The cool thing? The menus at the top of your screen stay the same no matter which studio you're in, so you don't have to relearn the entire interface each time. Only the tool set on the left changes depending on what workspace you're using. Right under those main menus, you'll notice something called the Context toolbar. Think of this like the Properties panel in Adobe apps. It changes depending on what tool you're using. So if you draw a square, you'll see options up top to change its color, stroke, or corner radius. Then, if you grab the text tool and start typing, that top bar will update with text options like font, size, and alignment. It's super intuitive and keeps your screen clean without tons of panels cluttering your view. Now, right up top again, you'll find handy tools like preview modes. For example, you can switch between vector preview and pixel preview. This shows you how your artwork will look once it's exported as a JPEG or PNG. If you're working with sharp vector graphics, keep it on vector preview. Next, you've got your Boolean operations. That's just the fancy term for combining or cutting shapes. You can add shapes together, subtract one from another, or even merge them in creative ways. You'll also see arrange tools for moving shapes forward or backward, transform options for flipping and rotating, and align tools to make your designs perfectly balanced. Basically, these controls are like your design cleanup crew. They help you keep everything nice and aligned. All right, moving over to the right side of the screen, we've got panels. These are your main control centers for layers, colors, brushes, and effects. You can totally rearrange these panels. Just click, drag, and drop them wherever you want. If you ever mess something up, don't panic. You can always reset your workspace back to default. The Layers panel works just like in Photoshop. Every time you create something, like a rectangle or text, it appears in the Layers list. You can rename, reorder, lock, or group them. You'll also see options for blending modes, opacity, and layer effects right there. Next, you've got panels for brushes, quick effects, and styles. Quick effects are like Photoshop's layer styles, things like shadows, glows, and outlines. And styles? Those are like reusable graphic presets, so if you love a certain look, you can save and reuse it in future projects. Down at the bottom, you'll find the Transform panel. It lets you manually control your object's position, rotation, and size. If you're a perfectionist like me and love clean alignment, you'll be using this a lot. You can type in exact numbers for width, height, and position to get that pixel-perfect design. And that's a full walkthrough of the Affinity Studio interface. Once you understand where everything is, it becomes super fun to work with. In the next video, we'll go deeper into layers, effects, and how to actually start designing something awesome. So if this helped you out, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.